Okay, it's the brother Kadash. Want to start off by giving all praises to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rakah, Kadash. We're gonna jump straight into it, right? So this is on Vocab Malone's channel. He has a debate with a brother, and this brother, he made Vocab Malone look completely foolish. He kind of used Vocab Malone's own tactics on there. Vocab Malone was like, he was saying things that the brother didn't even say. So he was putting things on the brother from other Hebrew Israelite groups that other Hebrew Israelites said that the brother didn't even say himself, while they were having the debate, and he clearly was adding to the scriptures too. And the brother was using Vocab's own medicine on him, and he totally confounded Vocab. But it just goes to show you, like, this is what we always say, man. We might as well join alliances together, us being Hebrew Israelites, because when shit hits the fan, they're going to group us all as one anyways, man. Just like Vocab Malone, your group didn't say this, another group said it, but they going to say that your group said it just because we all identify as Hebrew Israelites. They're going to group us all as one anyways. And the brother brought up a good point about, Vocab was saying that we had we serve different gods of the Bible, but he don't say that with other groups, religious groups. He say that they do have the same God and stuff like that, but when it comes to the Hebrew Israelites, he's saying that we're not worshiping the same Jesus because of doctrinal differences, pretty much. Salaki, hold that. Alright, Salaki, I had a customer come in. We're gonna jump straight back into it. So yeah, he made Vocab Malone look foolish and silly, which a lot of Christians end up looking foolish and silly. All you gotta do is just ask them questions back and then call them out when they do that stuff. And then if you watch the video at the end, Vocab Malone he touched on Romans 9, but he didn't want to go through and break down Romans 9. He completely diverted. The brother let him divert. The brother wasn't trying to, but there's only so much you could do. So I get it. When the brother kept saying, let's deal with Romans 9. And Vocab Malone wanted to talk about the brother's mom. So he kind of diverted. He did the little slippery thing to get out of talking about Romans 9, because like I always say, Romans 9 is the haymaker. Romans 9 is the first. When you deal with a Christian or Catholic, just go to Romans 9 first. That's it. Just go to Romans 9 and then build and get your precepts building off Romans 9, because that's the shotgun. It's over with. Romans 9 clearly is showing you a process of elimination. So they love this word Gentile, which just means nation. It just means nations, right? So they love this word Gentile, right? But the Bible prophecy, just like in Romans 9, is clearly giving you a process of elimination. This is why they hate Romans 9. It's giving you a process of elimination. It's telling you, okay, you say all nations could be saved, or you say Gentiles could be saved. What Gentiles? By nation could be saved. Which ones? Because Esau can't be saved. Hebrews 12 tells us that, you know what I mean? Which I got to do a deeper breakdown of this. But Ishmael can't be saved. Galatians 4 tells us that. And then even if we use Galatians 3, which is their favorite chapter to go to, if we use Galatians 3, you guys say you have to be from Abraham's seed. Well, Moab and Ammon is not from Abraham's seed. Japheth is not from Abraham's seed. You see what I'm saying? That the Hamitic nations are not from Abraham's seed. So salvation is not for them. The majority of the Asian world, they believe in Buddha. You say you got to believe on Yahweh Shai. They don't believe it, so salvation is not for them then. So what are we really arguing about? The majority of the Muslim world that practice Islam, or they believe in Allah. They believe in the Prophet Muhammad. They don't believe in Yahweh. So salvation is not for them. And it's millions, if not billions of them. So what is we really sitting here arguing about? Okay, so let's go into it. So, I come on the comment board. I asked a question. I said, what Gentiles could be saved? Because this eliminates Edomite Gentiles. In Galatians 4, Edomites, Ishmael, everything we just talked about, right? So this is Hebrews 12, verse 16 and 17. Lest there be any fornicator or profane person as Esau, who for one morsel of meat sold his birthright. So what does it mean he sold his birthright? But you guys saying that he still has the birthright because he could be saved. You see how backwards that is and how wacky and tacky that is? He can't be saved. He sold his birthright to the kingdom, to the promise. That's why Jacob has it. That means it's over with for him and his descendants. Because we can't just say, let's keep reading. For ye know that afterward, when he would have inherited the blessing of what? Salvation of the kingdom. Because salvation and the kingdom goes hand in hand. If you're saved, you're being saved for what? You're being saved from the destruction to inherit the kingdom of heaven. It's just that simple. It says, he was rejected, for he found no place of repentance, though he sought after it carefully with tears. So he sought after repentance, but he still was rejected by the Lord. And it's not just the man Esau. You can't say Esau was rejected, but his seed is accepted. That don't even, come on, that's very wacky. I mean, so Esau and his descendants are rejected. They cannot be saved. Now the thing is, Esau's still on earth today. So it would be, you can't say all nations could be saved, because Esau is a nation that's on earth and they can't be saved. So right there is a cut. That's cut one. You cannot say all nations could be saved. You have to say all nations but Esau. And then you have to say all nations but Esau and Ishmael. And then the list going to keep going on and on. And when you do the process of eliminations that's spoken about in Romans 9, you're going to find out that only the Israelites could be saved. Right? That's the process of elimination. You have to come from Abraham's seed, which is Isaac, but not Ishmael. Then you have to come through Jacob, not Esau. It's that simple, man. And you guys know this because you guys read the Bible, but you're haters of God, you know. You hate the Lord of the Bible, so you want to make up one of your own. You know, this is what you guys do. Hey, Salakia, I might have another customer out here, so I'm gonna have to pause this real quick. Okay, so I'm back. So it's very simple, right? Esau can't be saved. So it's fundamental. You can't say anybody could be saved or any nation could be saved, because the Bible clearly tells us that certain nations can't be saved. You guys are taking the word Gentile, which just clearly means nations. So we're about to go into the whole reason for this video. This guy right here, his name is @OldSchoolSaint, right? Old School Saint. So he pulled this verse, Isaiah 49 verse 6. Let's read it. He says, and he said, it is a light thing that thou shouldest be my servant, to raise up the tribes of Jacob, and to restore and preserve restore the preserved of Israel. I will also give thee for a light into the Gentiles, which you could substitute that with nations. It just means nations, man. You guys make up your whole doctrine based off a word, the word that says nations or anybody or everybody, but you cannot show or demonstrate in the Bible where it says Esau will be saved, where it says Moab will be saved, Ammon will get salvation, obtain salvation, Ishmael will obtain salvation. You can't find that by nation, so you have to reach when it says anybody, everybody, and you take it out of context. So he kept saying, what does verse 6 mean? So I got the context, right? But first I answered them, right? Because Deuteronomy 30, like, this is not a new concept. This is old concept, because you can read about it in Deuteronomy 30, right? It says, into the ends of the earth, right? That's where Isaiah 49 and 6 ends off at, right? It says, because Israelites were scattered to the ends of the earth. It's very simple. That's why you have salvation going to the ends of the earth, because the Israelites were scattered amongst the nations, the Gentiles, and they were also being called Gentiles when they were scattered amongst these Gentiles. I'm not going to get it. 1 Corinthians 12 tells you that Israelites were called Gentiles too, right? So you could go look it up yourself, right? So since we were scattered, it's not that all nations could be saved, it's that the Israelites that were scattered amongst all nations could be saved. So salvation is going to go throughout the whole world, because the Israelites were scattered throughout the whole world. Very simple concept, right? So Deuteronomy 30 verse 3, starting at verse 3, says that then the Lord thy God will turn thy captivity and have passion upon thee. Who's the thee? The Israelites. Who's in captivity? The Israelites. And will return and gather thee. He's going to return and gather everybody. No, it says thee. From all nations. So he don't understand that Deuteronomy 30 actually answers what Isaiah 49 is talking about. Because the whole concept behind Isaiah 49 was said first in Deuteronomy 30. This is how the Bible works, man. You go to the New Testament, a lot of these things are being quoted from the Old Testament. I know Isaiah is from the Old Testament too. But even with the prophets, there are only quoting things really from the law, right? So why is salvation going into, because the word Gentiles means nations. If you look up Isaiah 49 verse 6 in the ESV, it's going to say nations rather than Gentiles. So it just told you why we're going to be a light to the nations. In Deuteronomy 30, it says, I will gather thee from all nations, whether the Lord thy God has scattered thee. So what I'm saying is hey, the Israelites are scattered amongst all the nations, and the Lord is going to save them from all these nations. Therefore, salvation is going to have to go out throughout the whole world, because we've been scattered throughout the whole world amongst the nations. Very simple. If any of thy be driven out up to the utmost parts of heavens, which means the whole world, same thing it says in Isaiah 49, it says, from thence will the Lord thy God gather thee, and from thence will he fetch thee. And the Lord thy God will bring thee into the land which thy fathers, which tells you that this is a lineage thing. That's why it says fathers, the seed. And it don't say thy mothers. Possessed, right? It says, and thou shalt possess it, and he will do thee good and multiply thee above thy fathers. Now, if you read a couple more precepts down in Deuteronomy 30, it's going to bring up that he should take the curses off the Israelites and put them on the other nations, not save them and bless them with us, right? So he said, according to you, these verses signify what exactly? I told him, keep, you have in Isaiah 49 verse 6, you have to keep reading, because it's clear that the Lord chose Israel. Because verse 7 in Isaiah 49, so let's just jump to Isaiah 49 and we'll come back to this and see what it says. Right. Let me pause. Okay, so Isaiah 49. Now we're here. Now let's start from verse 5. It says, now saith the Lord that formed me in the womb to be his servant, to bring Jacob again to him, though Israel be not gathered. But we just told you in Deuteronomy 30, it said that they were going to be gathered. It's talking about the same event. These are not two different events. You see what I'm saying? It says, yet shall I be glorious in the eyes of the Lord, and my God shall be my strength. Now watch this. Verse 6, and he said, it is a light thing that thou shalt be my servant, to raise up the tribes of Jacob, and to restore the preserved of Israel. I will also give thee a light to the Gentiles, that thou mayest, which means the same thing as a light to the nations, that thou mayest be my salvation, and to the end of the world. Right, because it's saying that the Israelites is going to be the Lord's salvation. He's going to give he's going to give us to be a light to the Gentiles. Why? Because you have Israelites that are scattered amongst the Gentiles that are going to be saved. And then also the Gentiles are going to have to follow our laws, statutes, and commandments in the kingdom. Same way here in America, so-called Negroes, African Americans, which come from the tribe of Judah, which are Israelites, we have to follow their laws too. That don't mean that we're inherit their kingdom, or this place was built by us. It don't mean it was built for us. It don't mean that this is our paradise just because we got to follow their laws. And I think Zechariah 14 makes that clear, that the families of the earth are going to have to follow the law, statutes, and commandments, but they're going to be punished. Whereas Jeremiah 31 tells you that the Israelites are going to have the law, statutes, and commandments put in their inward parts. They're not going to be punished. They're not going to suffer death, because they're going to be made perfect with the law, statutes, and commandments in their hearts. But Zechariah 14 tells you that the other nations are still going to be put to death. So it's showing you a difference in the kingdom, right? That's what we say. They're going to be there. They're going to be there as servants, slaves. And Isaiah 60 breaks that down too, right? So he think that I'm ducking this precept right here, which I'm not. It just clearly tell you we're going to be a light into the nations, that thou mayest be my salvation into the end of the earth. The Israelites is the Lord's salvation, but we're amongst these Gentiles. And watch verse 7. Thus saith the Lord, the Redeemer of Israel. He's redeeming who? The whole world? No, it says the Redeemer of Israel, in his Holy One, to him who man despiseth, to him who the nations abhorreth, which is like Vocab Malone, for example. He despiseth us, he abhorreth us. That's why he has it in him so much to come up against us. Right here, Salaki, I got another customer here again. Here, Salaki, let me see what's going on. No, false alarm. I'm at work right now. It's Monday, 12, as you can see at the top of my screen. We ain't ducking nothing. We just at work, but we live this, so at any moment, any time, we can get into the scriptures, right? So let's keep going from where we left off at, right? So just like Vocab Malone, he despised of us, right? But like I told Vocab Malone a long time ago when he came on my comment board, I told him his time is coming, So it says, to him who the nation, the Lord using him for a point in time, and then the Lord's going to dispose of him after. It's just, that's simple. That's how it works, right? It says, to a servant of rulers, kings shall see and arise, and princes shall also worship, because of the Lord that is faithful, and the Holy One of Israel, and he should choose thee. Choose who? Who's the D? Choose Israel. What does it mean to choose Israel? If you're how can you choose something if you're choosing the whole thing? If I got 5 colors on the table and they say choose one, but I choose all of them, that don't make no sense, man. That's wacky. When you choose one, you're choosing one to be what? Like it says in Deuteronomy 7:6, he's choosing us to be above all people on the face of the earth, man. He's choosing us for the promise, the salvation. You know, let's keep going. So he chose who? He chose Israel. That's who the D is Israel. To be what? To be saved. It says, thus saith the Lord, in an acceptable time have I heard thee. In the day of salvation have I helped thee. Who's the D again? This is very simple reading, man. For these wacky-tacky Christians. See, he thought that he had something because he went and isolated one verse, which is verse 6, which he keeps saying, what about verse 6? What about verse 6? Keep reading. It says, in the day of salvation have I helped thee. So when salvation comes upon the whole world, who is he going to help with that salvation? Israel. And I will preserve thee and give thee for a covenant of the people to establish the earth, to cause to inherit desolation heritage, right? Which you can continue reading this yourself. I just want to get straight to the point, so I'm just jumping down. Verse 13. Sing, O heavens, and be joyful, O earth, and break forth into singing, O mountains. For the Lord has comforted his people, and will have mercy upon his afflicted. But Zion, which is telling you who is it referring to as his people? Zion, which means monument of Israel, said, the Lord has forsaken me, and my Lord has forgotten me. Now watch this. Now watch this. Right? That's what made us Gentiles, when we follow the other nations and living as Gentiles among the Gentiles. Right? Now watch this, because we weren't living as Israelites. But you still have Israelites that are living as Israelites. So it's showing you the difference. You know, Israel could be saved, and the Gentiles, the lost sheep of the house of Israel, they could be saved too. So before we came into the truth, we were living as Gentiles. We have been referred to as Gentiles or African Americans. But now that we woke up to the truth and we found out who we are, and we start following the ways of the Lord, now we could be referred back to as Israelites, right? Now watch this. And watch how crazy this is. Verse 22 in the same chapter, when you scroll down, verse 22, watch this. Thus saith the Lord God, behold, I will lift up my hand to the Gentiles. See, you have to get more context, man. So I will lift up my hand to the Gentiles, which means I will lift up my hand to the nations, right? And set upon my standard to the people. Watch this. And they shall bring thy sons in their arms, and thy daughters shall be carried upon their shoulders. What does that mean? That means, who is the thy? It means Israelite sons and Israelite daughters, which is what I said from the beginning. You have Israelite sons and daughters, or just Israelite people that are scattered among the nations. So therefore salvation is going to go all. It's not that all nations could be saved. It's that the Israelites among these nations could be saved, because the Lord is going to use these nations to bring the Israelites that are scattered among them to us. Watch this. In the kingdom, it says, and kings shall be thy nursing fathers, and the queen shall be nursing mothers. Watch this. They shall bow down to thee with their face towards the earth. What does that mean? That means in the kingdom, we're going to have rulership, and the other nations are going to bow down to us. And you also read about this if you go a couple chapters forward in Isaiah 60. The other nations are going to have to serve us. They're going to have to bow down to us. Didn't it just say, didn't it mention Gentiles in verse 22? Didn't it say that they should have to bow down to us in verse 23? So how are they being saved to inherit the kingdom and the blessing of the kingdom, but at the same time they have to bow down to us with their face towards the earth? And doesn't it say that in Revelations 3 and 9? So that's not, Revelations 3 and 9, or maybe 2 and 9, or maybe both. So it's not a new concept. These concepts come from the Old Testament, man. It's the same thing. They're going to have to bow down to us. But you guys saying they're going to be saved with us if they believe. This is saying that they're going to be under us, and that the Lord chose us. And the reason why salvation is going out to the nations is because you have Israelites scattered amongst the nations, which leads you to what Yahweh Shai said, which we're going to go to that. It says, and lick up the dust of thy feet. So not only are they bowing down, they have to lick up the dust of our feet. And thou shalt know that I am the Lord, for they should not be ashamed that wait for me. And we're not going to be ashamed that this is going to happen, because just like it says in Revelation 13, those that kill with the sword must be killed with the sword. Those that lead in captivity must go into captivity. So this is a form of captivity they're going in. And it says this is the patience and the faith of the saints. Now watch this. Right here, this is Matthew 15, verse 24. But he answered and said, I am not sent but into the lost sheep of the house of Israel. Right? So that's why the Lord is saying, look, I'm not sent but to the lost sheep. What were the lost sheep of the house of Israel being called? They weren't being called Israel. That's the whole point of being lost. So Vocab Malone says, well, nowhere in the Bible does it say that Israel lose their identity. What's the point? What's the part of being lost sheep? What does that mean? You're not living as Israelite no more. If we can live all over the earth, man, that don't mean that we're lost. If we're still living as Israel, but we're living in China as Israel, that don't mean that we're lost, man. The whole point of us being the lost sheep of the house of Israel, meaning we lost what? Our heritage, man. That's what makes us lost sheep. So therefore, we're not calling ourselves Israel anymore, and we're not keeping the customs or the commandments of the Lord anymore. So we're living as Gentiles, and we're being referred to as Gentiles, whether it be Greeks, Romans, or Americans today. That's so because Vocab kept saying that in the video. Hey man, where does it say that they lose their identity? Well, it calls them the lost sheep of the house of Israel. What does it mean to be the lost sheep? So you break it down. So let's go back. I'm gonna keep pausing it because I don't want y'all to see my personal information when I'm switching through the pages. Okay, this is Matthew 10, right? Verse 5. These 12 Yahweh Shai sent forth, commanding them, saying, go not into the way of the Gentiles, and into any city of the Samaritans enter ye not. So why is Yahweh Shai, I mean, he was perfect. The only one of us that was perfect, right? Why is he telling his disciples not to go into the Gentiles, but rather go to the lost sheep of the house of Israel? And as ye go, preach, saying, the kingdom of heaven is at hand. This should never even be in the Bible. From the very beginning, it should have been go to everybody. What, he had to warm up to finally get to that? No, bro. Come on. He made it very clear. Don't go into the actual Gentiles, but go into the lost sheep, which are lost among the Gentiles, that live among the Gentiles. They are also referred to as Gentiles, but they're the lost sheep of the house of Israel. They're actually Israelites. Go to them and preach to them that the kingdom is coming, which goes all the way back to Isaiah 49 that we was breaking down. It's very simple. I'll give you another one. This is Acts 2, verse 5. And there were dwelling at Jerusalem Jews, devout men out of every nation under heaven. They're Israelites, but they're coming out of every nation under heaven. Remember, the word Gentile means nation. So you actually could say, and there were dwelling at Jerusalem Jews, devout men out of every Gentile under heaven. Gentiles under heaven. Because it just means nations. That's it, bro. So why is the Gentiles could be saved? Because the Israelites among the Gentiles could be saved, not the actual Gentiles. It tells you what's going to happen to them. The times of the Gentiles are going to be fulfilled. It tells you that in Luke 21, right? So let's keep going, right? So you got Jews, but they're coming out of all these different nations because they were living amongst these in different nations, but they're Israelites by blood. It says by seed, like Romans 9 that Vocab Malone was ducking clearly explains to you. Now when this was noised abroad, the multitude came together and were confounded, because that every man heard them speaking in his own language. So just like you got Israelites in Mexico, they speak Spanish. And you got Israelites in America, they speak English. We're all Israelites by blood, right? But if we came together, they gonna be speaking Spanish. We gonna be speaking English. That don't mean that we're not Israelites. You see what I'm saying? Our citizenship gonna be American. Their citizenship gonna be Mexican. But they're still Israelites by blood because they come from the descendants of the man Israel. That's what we're saying, man. Right? It says, and they were all amazed and marveled, saying one to another, behold, are not all these which speak Gileans? So they speaking these things, and then verse 9 tells you a whole bunch of other different things that they're speaking. But remember, verse 5 gave you the context. They're Jews out of every nation under heaven. So it's a very old concept that's going on still. So let's jump back to the comment board. Okay, so to finish off right here in the comment board, it says, where does it say that he has chosen Israel only, and what is it he chosen them for? He chosen them for salvation. God damn. Explain Isaiah 49:6 for me, please, which I already did, man. I gave you the context when I went to Isaiah 49:13 and 14. I gave you the context right here when I went to Isaiah 49:7 and 8. And before that, I gave you a precept that also explains Isaiah 49:6, which is Deuteronomy 30, verse 3 and 5, man. But you stuck on Isaiah 49:6, which we already explained it to you. And then I answered. I said verse 7 to answer both of your questions. Well, yeah, he said that he chose them in verse 7. That's the whole point of being chosen. And to answer your question, and what is he choosing them for? Verse 7 also tells you what he's choosing them for. Salvation. And then I even said, verse 8 says, in the day of salvation have I helped thee. Referring to Israel. So he chose them for salvation, because to them was given the promise. And then I said, let me ask you a question. Can Edomites be saved? Because now we finna go into what we call a process of elimination. You guys say any nation could be saved. We say only the Israelites could be saved. Okay, can Edomites be saved? And you guys know you can't answer it, which is why he hasn't answered it. Over an hour ago, he hasn't answered it because Obadiah 1 tells you that the Edomites are going to be completely cut off and wiped out. So that means Esau can't be saved. So the convenient thing for you to do is just to say that Esau already has been cut off and wiped off. So all nations could be saved, but Esau's already been wiped out. So no, he can't be saved, but he don't count because he's not around no more. How convenient is that? How convenient is that? But you can't prove that in the Bible that Esau is not around anymore. So no, Obadiah 1 is a future prophecy, because when you go to verse 18, that has not happened. That's a future thing to happen. You know, so Esau is still around, and we all agree that Esau cannot be saved. So therefore, it would be incorrect to say that all nations could be saved, because you have to say all nations but Esau could be saved. And then if you continue with the process of elimination, you will have to say all nations but Esau and Ishmael, because Ishmael cannot be joint heirs to the kingdom. That's what you're being saved for. You be saved from the destruction, which is called the second death by fire and brimstone. You're being saved for the kingdom of heaven, to inherit the kingdom of heaven, like it says in Matthew 25. Thou good servant, on my right hand, bless ye, roughly paraphrasing, to inherit the kingdom of my Father. That's what you're being saved for. So guess what? Ishmael can't be saved because he can't be joint heirs to the kingdom. So you have to say, so now you wacky tacky ass Christians will have to go and say, man, all nations could be saved but Esau, and Ishmael can't be saved. So any nation outside Ishmael and Esau could be saved. But then if you use Galatians 3 and you say you are Abraham's seed, then you have to say, well, Moab and Ammon, they didn't come from Abraham's seed. They can't be saved. Japheth is a whole different type of seed. You know, that's not Shem's seed. So they can't be saved. Any Hamitic nation cannot be saved. And then if you say, well, if you believe on Christ, you could be saved, then you still got to eliminate Moab and Ammon, because majority of them believe in different gods like Buddha. And then you have to still eliminate Ishmael, because majority of them believe in Allah and the Prophet Muhammad. So at the end of the day, what are you really saying, man? No, you guys, what you guys really are saying, which I know, is that the white man could be saved. That's your biggest objective to this thing. And no, he cannot be saved, because what you guys are going to find out is they are the Edomites. So let's go back. If I can, without doing nothing crazy. So I said vocab Malone got confounded easy. This was bad. The brother did a great job using vocab Malone own tactics on him, which he did. So who are the other people through the world aside the African Americans who are Israel? Please explain. Isaiah 49:6 say salvation should be spread to all nations beyond Jacob, which we already. He's stuck on 6. He don't want to look at 7 or 8. He don't want to look at verse 5. He don't want to look at 13, 14. He don't want to look at 22 or 23. He just want to make a whole doctrine out of verse 6, which we already explained. Yeah, salvation is going to be spread to all the nations, because the Israelites are scattered amongst all the nations. As verse 22 and 23 tells you, they're going to bring our sons and our daughters, and they're going to go into captivity. Very simple. That sums up everything. Vocab Malone ran from Romans 9, which you could watch this video and see. And it's just more going through the same thing. Which I'll answer by saying Deuteronomy 30, the Israelites that are also called Gentiles are scattered throughout the world and they can be saved. You have to keep reading in Isaiah verse 7 through 8 answers your question. And we already went through Matthew's 15 verse 24. So it's really just that simple. You know what I mean? So you could check this video out. The brother totally confounded Vocab Malone and made him look completely foolish. And if you pay attention at the end of the video, you will see that Vocab Malone completely ducked breaking down Romans 9. And then it was very convenient for him to say, well, I gotta go here pretty soon. So he switched the conversation to the brother's mother, which was a very slick tactic. And then he hit him with the I gotta go here pretty soon, so we really ain't got the time to go through Romans 9. So that's an L. But of course, all the Christians in the chat gonna say Vocab Malone did such a great job, which shows you that this ain't about really the truth of the Bible. This is about people picking sides, and they want their side to win. This is about competition, and that's the difference between us and them. You know, we actually go into the truth of the Bible. This ain't just about competition. You see what I'm saying? So with that, I'm going to say salvation to the elect. Shalom.